We've spent a lot of time exploring the interface of AutoCAD in the previous chapters and sections. I did this because I wanted to make sure that you knew how to work in AutoCAD and that you were comfortable navigating it. But enough is enough. Let's learn how to draw. That's why we're here. The focus of this section and the next few chapters will be on how to draw in AutoCAD. It's likely that the most common object used or created in AutoCAD, especially for 2D drawings, is the line. You will use lines, to create lines. You will use lines for construction. You will use lines to find your right place. You will use lines in so many different ways. The line is universal. A line is defined as all of the points between two specific points. So it's also one of the most easiest objects in AutoCAD to draw. You just pick two endpoints. Just 2 clicks of the mouse and you're there. But even though a line is very simplistic, there are many ways to draw a line in AutoCAD. To start the line command, you can go to one of several different places. You can use one of several different methods. It's up to you. On the ribbon, on the Home tab, the first panel, which is the Draw panel, you have the first icon, which is for the line command. Click that, and your command is started. Remember to follow the command prompts in your dynamic input and on the command line. They will tell you what you need to do. Obviously, now we need to draw our first point. Click one, anywhere. And now as you move your crosshairs with the mouse, you can see where the line is going to go. Your dynamic input will give you information about that line. Right now, this line, if I were to click again to create the second endpoint for the line, would be 14.28 units in length and drawn at 17 degrees. Very simple. Once you click that second point, you can continue drawing from that last endpoint to create another line. And you can keep going until you finally decide to stop. Press the Enter key, press the Escape key, right-click, or hit the space bar. And that's it. And that's how you draw a line. That is the most simplest way to draw a line. It's to pick 2 points. Now, there are many other ways that you can also draw a line. A lot of times, a line is not arbitrary. In fact, the majority of the time, you need to draw your line in a very specific way. Well, there are many ways available to us to do that. If you're starting a brand new drawing, it can be difficult to figure out where to start. I suggest that you find a line that you can use as the base of all of your other lines and go from there. In this example, we will draw a very simple outline of a house. Let's erase all of these lines. Type in E, then Enter for the Erase command, then select everything. Or you can select everything and then hit the Delete key. So let's start a new file. Type New on the command line. Browse to the template folder if it didn't open up there for you already. And let's start with the tutorial IArc DWT file. Click Open. This file will probably open up for you in what's called Paperspace. We'll talk more about Paperspace later on. We've mentioned it before already, but we want to make our drawing, create our model. And you put your line work in the Model tab. So come down to the bottom of the screen, find these tabs, click on the one that says Model. This is where we're going to draw. Quickly check your units. Type in the word units, and make sure we're working in architectural type. Precision of 1/16 is fine. More importantly, we want to make sure we're using inches. And click OK. With this setting, we will be drawing as 1 unit equaling 1 inch. We will be drawing everything in inches. So let's start the line command. Let's put our first point at the origin, or at coordinates 0, 0. So come up to the ribbon, click on the line command, or just type in the word line, or just the letter L. Since we have just started the command and have not picked up point yet for our first point, AutoCAD is assuming that we're looking for coordinates. So type in 0, 0, press Enter. Now remember, while you're in a command, you can use your mouse to pan around or zoom in and out as needed with the middle scroll wheel. We're going to draw a horizontal line 50 feet long to the right. Now, when working in architectural units, you draw in inches. There are 12 inches to a foot, so 12 times 50 equals 600 because we want to draw a 50-foot long line that's horizontal to the right. So you can do that math all the time if you would like to, but I suggest you don't. You can type in 50 and then an apostrophe for 50 feet. And if you need additional inches, like 6 inches, you can type that in. But 50 then apostrophe will draw a line at 50 feet long. Now, to draw this line horizontally or to the right, you can do that one of two different ways. The easiest way is to toggle on your ortho by pressing the F8 key. Just like that. Or if you don't toggle it here, you can come down to your status bar and click on the button here. This is the ortho mode button. Ortho mode will lock your drawing cursor or crosshairs into drawing orthogonally, which means just a horizontal line or a straight up and down line. Your line or your object or your movement will be constrained to following one of the two axes, in this case the X and Y axis. So we draw our line, we pull it to the right, and we type in 50 feet and press enter. Press enter again. Select the line. Hover over one of the blue boxes or the grips, and you'll see that this is a 50-foot line. Excellent. Now we want to start the line command again. Press the enter key, and that will automatically start the last command you were using. Type END for end or end point. This is an O snap we're going to use. We'll go into greater detail about O snaps, but O snaps will help you draw precisely. They will grab specific places on your objects, like the endpoint of a line. Move your crosshairs over to that endpoint of the line on the right, and you'll see a green box or glyph come up, and the word endpoint. It's telling you that you are grabbing the endpoint of that line. Left click. Now we're drawing our line again. We want to make this line 30 feet vertical. With the ortho still on, move your crosshair into the direction you want the line to go. Type in 30 and then the apostrophe. If you leave off the apostrophe, AutoCAD will assume you mean inches. And we don't want 30 inches, we want 30 feet. If I move my crosshairs down to the bottom, then the line will go down. Or if I type in a negative 30 with my crosshairs up here, it will also go down. But so far we're correct. Press enter. There's our line. Let's draw another line 50 feet to the left. Now remember, AutoCAD is directional. Whichever way I move my mouse, that's the way the line is going to go. I can tell it 50 feet, and it will go in either direction in which I'm moving my crosshairs. So move to the left, type in 50 feet again, and press enter. And now we want to come down. We can just snap to the endpoint here, or we can tell it to go 30 feet down. Whichever one you want to do. Press enter, and there is the start to our side view of our house. And that's what you need to do. When you start a drawing, you need to make sure that you put in a line that you can work with, a base point, a starting place. Once your lines are in, then you can base everything else in your drawing off of that. It gives you a starting point. You can also draw lines in many different ways. You can draw them at angles. Now let's put in a roof. Let's go to the top right corner. Over here, start the line command again. Go to this endpoint. Press E and D, enter, pick that line, and now let's go to the right 5 feet. Or you can type in 60 inches, which is the same thing. And that gives us our 5-foot line. Now let's go to the other side and do the same thing. Start the line command, type in end, grab the endpoint, go to the left 5 feet, enter. Press enter again, and here we go. Now you can also draw lines in what are called polar coordinates. A lot of the times we're drawing in a Cartesian coordinate system, but AutoCAD will also allow us to draw in polar coordinates. Drawing in polar coordinates means that you will be drawing lines based on length and angle, not just distance or direction. To do this, start the line command, pick a point, turn off ortho, type in a distance, 12 feet, press tab, and then type in an angle, 35. There you go. That is a polar coordinate, a distance and an angle. You'll find that you'll use this trick time and time again. Let's use it now, actually, to draw in a roof gable. Erase this line. Now let's draw the gable. Start the line command. Type in end for this endpoint. Put in a distance, 40 feet. Press the tab key. And I've predetermined already ahead of time what angle we're going to need. Let's type in 138.59. Press enter. And there you go. That draws a line right to the middle of our roof. Type in E and D again, and click there. That's a pretty steep roof, I know, but we're learning how to draw in AutoCAD with lines and with polar coordinates. A lot of times in AutoCAD, all you'll have to do is draw half or part of your object, and then the rest will automatically fall into place. Similar to this last line when we drew, and then this last roof line. Now, one thing that we can do, and let's erase these two pieces. So we can draw to other points besides an endpoint. Start the line command. Type in MID for mid or midpoint. Press enter. The triangle glyph will show the midpoint. That's the middle of our house. Turn on the ortho command. And let's draw a line up 20 feet. Press enter. Now we know where our peak on our roof is going to be. Start the line command again. Type E and D. Type E and D again. Press enter. Pick that point. Now type E and D again. Enter. And if you mess up typing in the dynamic input, you can always go back. If you type in something that's not possible that AutoCAD doesn't know what to do with, you saw that red box come up and it says, hey, I don't know what to do this, please tell me again. And that's fine. You can backspace or delete what's inside there and type again. You can also use your arrow keys to navigate inside the text. As you can see there through my examples. And there we go. Now we can delete that line. And that's basically it in a nutshell. But before we go, let's review something about drawing with coordinates. If you enter in coordinates for the first point in your line, as we did to start our house, they will be absolute, meaning that those are the coordinates where your first point of your line will be drawn. If you enter in coordinates for the second point, they will be a relative distance from that point. So if you need to draw your second point to an absolute set of coordinates, start it by pressing the pound key, then enter the coordinates. For example, start the line command. Enter in 5, 4 for the first point. That is an absolute point. That is going to the coordinates of 5, 4. And that will be in inches in this case, as you can see where it is. Now type in 6, 4. These are relative coordinates. It went not to coordinate 6, 4, but it went 6 units over, 4 units up from our previous position. Exit out of the line command. Start the line command again. And this time type in 5, 4. And remember, your first point will be absolute points. There is no other point for it to be relative to, so that's why. Press enter, and we're starting at the exact same starting point as we did with the other line. Now, type in the pound key. Then hit 6, 4. Press enter. Enter again. 2 very different lines. this line and this line both start at coordinate 5, 4. Now the coordinate for this one is at 6, 4, which is what we told it to do. Now we told this one to go over 6 units and up 4 units. So it is at coordinates 11, 8. So keep that in mind. A lot of times you will find drawing in relative coordinates. If something needs to be 20 feet long or 20 meters long, you can tell it, I want to go 20 units to the right and 0 units up, and you have drawn an horizontal line 20 units in length. So that's the basics of drawing with lines. There are a lot of different ways to do it, through absolute coordinates, through just random points, picking the first and the second point, through object snaps, through distances and angles, and through other coordinates. A lot of the times, you will just start a line, making it very long, or at least long enough, and going from there. If your coordinates are irrelevant and you don't care what coordinates you are in, then try to draw close to 0. That will make things a bit easier to manage in the long run.